beer, it's good for you.
Hello and welcome to the video. Within this video I'm sharing the second of my two interviews that I conducted with John Palmer that were filmed at the Craft Brewers Conference in May 2023 at Nashville, USA. So let's get started.
Okay, so John, tell me, and I guess you hear this an awful lot, if a new brewer was to come to you and just ask you for some quick advice, what do you generally tell them?
Yeah, I tell them first that brewing is cooking. So there is nothing you're really going to do with making a beer that is going to make it a disaster, more so than simply making a box of macaroni and cheese or attempting to bake some cookies. The processes are very similar, and the results can be easily as good or as bad as making a box of macaroni and cheese. So don't be afraid to start. I've had so many brewers come up to me that say, "Oh yes, I've read everything, and so how did you find the process?" "I haven't done it yet." It's like, no, you need to brew. It's not hard. After that, there's my top 5 list of sanitation being number 1, yeast management and fermentation temperature control being numbers 2 and 3, and kind of, those flip back and forth depending. The boil is the 4th one, because a lot of your flavor development happens during the boil. So don't think that you need to cut the boil short. And then finally, 5 is understanding recipes. And a lot of people think that they can't brew without a recipe. And that's not true, because beer recipes are really quite simple. They're like sandwich recipes. And that you've got an innate sense of the laws of proportion of the ingredients when you make a sandwich. It's the same way in a beer recipe. 70 to 90% of your grain bill for a beer is going to be your base malt. Just plain base malt. Then you add 5 or 10% of a couple of different specialty malts, whether they're caramel malts or roast malts or other kilned malts, toasty flavors, that to add some character to the beer or to help define that beer as a particular style. And then you add an appropriate amount of hops, use the right type of yeast for that style, and ferment it, according to the yeast's needs. So recipes aren't complicated. It's a matter of just trusting your gut and saying, I'm not going to do this to excess.
Yeah, I actually couldn't agree more. I think by their nature, homebrewers tend to want to complicate it or think it is complicated, so complicate it in their own mind.
Yes, yeah, and it's really quite simple. And the first time, and it helps people to go and see someone else do it, to help them realize that it's really not that complicated, and you don't have to hover over the mash tun or the boil kettle, and it's working.
Yeah, I really love the relax, have a homebrew phrase.
Yes, exactly.
Because I think if you're brewing and you have a bit of anxiety, that's the complete opposite direction.
You
will get the best results with everything if you relax.
That's very true. Very true. I see so many people online trying to shorten their brew length, shorten the boil, shorten the mash, and it's like, why? It's traditionally an hour, and you got time to kick back and have a home brew or clean something while the mash is going on. You don't need to rush it.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you have not seen it already, then I would recommend watching my first CBC 2023 interview with John, which gives key content and release information about the next updated edition of John's widely acclaimed How to Homebrew book, which is quite simply the #1 book for brewers of all types. My thanks to John for these interviews and for everything he has done for brewers of all levels, which can only be described as massive. I do hope that you found this video useful, informative and interesting. If so, why not consider liking and subscribing? For For further support, you can join the channel's Facebook group, and if you would like to support the channel, then check out the channel's merchandise store, as all profits go back into the channel. Until next time, happy brewing!